All right, what is up, everybody? This is Tears. I am back with the second part of our Heart Gold, Soul Silver in-game tier list. So part one ended off with Persian here. We got a lot of Pokemon in, pretty balanced mix of Pokemon, and we got a pretty good amount left. And a lot of these are really interesting. So I hope you enjoyed the first part. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure you watch it. But yeah, let's get into part two and let's start with another Pokemon that goes in meh. Wow. Golduck. Yet another water type that kind of just gets outclassed. Doesn't hit super hard. Hits hard enough, but it's just very underwhelming in terms of its stats. A decent special water type, and that's kind of where the discussion ends. Machamp. The champ is here. The champ is an S tier. Lame, not even a joke. Jokes aside, Machamp is really, really good. You get it pretty early. It gets really good moves. It hits like a GD truck. You can mess up Whitney. You can mess up Jasmine. You can mess up Price. You can mess up Karen. So I should say, actually, fighting types are not as useful for Karen as you might think, because she doesn't have all dark types, but they're still useful. They're still definitely useful. Machamp is a good example of that. Again, hits like a truck, good ability. You can burn this thing, send it into battle, and if you have guts, it's just going to do so much damage. Um, but yeah, Machamp definitely an excellent tier, one of the best fighting types in these games, for sure. Hitmonlee, Hitmontop, and Hitmonchan are all going into meh for the sole purpose that they are not available until after you get Waterfall. Why? Why would you keep Hitmontop for us for that long? Hitmonlee is definitely the best of the three, in my opinion, but they all kind of serve the same purpose. They are pretty hard hitting fighting types. Very replaceable though. You will probably already have a fighting type by the time you can get these things. Really only useful in a few fights that are left in the game. But again, they're kind of a pain in the ass to get too, because you have to get Tyrogue and you have to level it up and da 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 da. Tyrogue is a terrible Pokemon. It's horrifically underleveled when you get it. So yeah, I don't love any of these three. I think they're outclassed by Pokemon you can get earlier. Again, you just don't get them until after you get Waterfall. So not great. Giraffe Rig is gonna go into um I'm gonna keep it in meh. Uh, it has a good niche as a normal psychic type, but the problem is that there are psychic types and normal types that really, really outclass it. It just doesn't hit quite hard enough on either special or physical side to really push itself up a tier. It's really good for the Morty fight, I will say. Can you even use it for the Morty fight? I feel like you have to be able to. I feel like that was what it was designed to be for. If you can't use it for the Morty fight, definitely in meh. Even if you can, probably still in meh. But yeah, Giraffe Rake just kind of gets outclassed by other normal types and other psychic types. But definitely serves a niche. Is definitely better than most of the Pokemon in this tier. It just doesn't quite have enough utility. Tauros, on the other hand, this thing is a god. Intimidate, super duper fast, really wide move pool, hits like a truck. You get it at a good spot in the game. I mean, there's just nothing wrong with Tauros. If you have a Tauros on your team, you're in a good spot. That's just a general rule of thumb. Intimidate. I mean, again, Intimidate is such a good ability. It's so, so, so good. Tauros is the pretty much the only fights you shouldn't use it in are Jasmine. Maybe even you can still use it in Jasmine depending on its coverage. Price and Bruno. But every single other fight in this game, Tauros is super duper useful. It is such a good Pokemon. Probably the best normal type in these games. Miltank is a little bit more of a defensive version of Tauros. Is very fast, has good bulk, has decent offenses, but just is kind of again outclassed by Tauros in that aspect. If you're building a more defensive team and you want a Tauros like Pokemon, go with Miltank. It is good. It just kind of gets outclassed by Tauros, but it is one of the better normal types in these games for sure. I'm gonna put Magmar into pretty good as well. It has very solid special attack. Gets pretty good moves. Has some utility moves. Is useful in fights like the Jasmine fight and the Price fight and the Koga fight in the Elite Four. It falls short because it doesn't hit quite as hard as some of the other fire types. If this thing could evolve into Magmortar, it would definitely be an excellent. Magmortar has a giant special attack stat, but as it is, pretty good. Jinx. So Jinx is another Pokemon with so much potential that it just can't take advantage of without TMs that you just can't really get in the main story. It's an Ice Psychic type that doesn't really get Ice and Psychic type moves on the special side. It would be a great, fast, special attacking Psychic type if it could just get special Psychic and Ice type moves. It's available kind of late too, so it doesn't really have use in that sense either. But yeah, the big problem that I have that you're kind of maybe starting to notice is like I've said before, no stab moves, but really an over reliance for a lot of Pokemon on their level up moveset. In other games, you get access to most of the TMs in the main story. You really don't get access to enough TMs in the main story of these games. It stinks. Because if you could get Psychic or even Ice Beam, you don't even have to have both, just one of them. Jinx would easily be in pretty good, maybe even in excellent. Probably in pretty good, but it would be useful against Claire, against Lance. It just, you just can't, it doesn't hit for anything. It's, it's really too bad. I really, I don't know. I wish it was better, but alas. Mr. Mime, pretty good. The only real big issue with Mr. Mime is how late you get it. But really good stats, very good special bulk, really good moves, gets a lot of utility moves, gets Psychic, which is great stab. It's really useful in the remaining rival fights, Rocket fights, and Bruno. But again, you get it in the Safari Zone just a little late. But definitely a good Pokemon if you don't have a Psychic type that you like yet. Mr. Mime, good choice. Smeargle, okay, so again, another Pokemon where if you have rare candies, this thing could actually be really good. But as it is, it's really hard to level it up. It doesn't have any offensive stats. So yeah, Smeargle, nah, it's a gimmick. But again, if you're using rare candies, you can give it like it can be probably the best utility Pokemon in the game. You can give it like Tailwind, Spore, Baton Pass, and Sword Stance or something. Like that's an insane. Like there are so many things you can do with it. It just does not hit hard enough. It can't. You can't level it up. Okay, Farfetchd. One of the probably the biggest, most outclassed Pokemon in the game. Um, every other normal flying type, including Togetic, is better than this thing. It can't hit for any damage. You get it later than a lot of the other normal flying types, and it just doesn't have any offense at all. It's sad because I kind of like its design, but Surfetched was a very, very necessary addition for this Pokemon. Zatu, meh. Gets some decent utility moves, has a decent special attack stat, does not have good attacking moves without TMs at all. Doesn't get Psychic until really late. Doesn't get a Psychic type special attack until you get Psychic. Um, just doesn't hit hard enough with physical flying type moves either. It doesn't get special flying type moves. You get it after you get Surf. It's just there are better flying types and better Psychic types. This is not it. Quillfish, it is really, really outclassed by the next Pokemon in the list, but it gets some unique utility moves like spikes, toxic spikes, things like that. But again, there are just other Pokemon that are better than it. It doesn't hit hard enough. You can hit kind of hard with physical attacks, but just again, it gets outclassed by other physical attacking water types, physical attacking poison types, and other water poison types like Tentacruel, who you can get earlier and has better overall stats and moves than Quillfish. It hits hard enough. It has very good bulk. It's very fast. Um, it's very underrated in my opinion. People think it's not as good because it's kind of common, but it's really good against Jasmine if you're careful. For the Steelix, it can be good against Bruno, Chuck, Price. It can kind of bulk out Claire and Lance in some ways. A pretty good Pokemon. If it hit a little bit harder, it would probably be an excellent, but it just doesn't hit that hard. Okay, Kingler. I would not have expected this thing to be pretty good until I kind of gave it an extra look. Again, another water type that's helped a lot by the appearance of the physical special split. Hits like a truck, has really good physical bulk. Special attackers, stay away. Physical attacks, heck yeah. Again, hits like a truck, gets good physical water stab like Crab Hammer. Gets some decent coverage, good enough coverage to where you can make it work. Just kind of not quite good enough to be in the excellent tier. Starmie, oh, I forgot about Shuckle. Shuckle. So when you see Shuckle's defensive stats, you're like, there's no way this Pokemon's bad. It's got the best defensive stats in the game. And then you see its offenses. This thing can't level up. Again, if you are using rare candies, this thing could be useful. But it can't do any damage. It's so sad. Shuckle is such a cool idea for a Pokemon, and I like its design, but... oh, Shuckle. Alright, Starmie, I'm going to put into pretty good. Again, if it got Psychic type Stab, it would be an excellent. This thing has great stats. This thing, it hits like a truck. You get it kind of earlier than you might think. It's missing that Psychic stat. It's missing that extra oomph to get it into the excellent tier. But really good stats. Can get Surf and hit like a truck with it. Glass Cannon, speed. Pretty good. Cloister, on the other hand, might be the best water type in these games. I'm not even gonna lie. You get it earlier than you might think. If you get it a Water Stone, it can get Skill Link, Icicle Spear. It can hit pretty hard on the physical and special sides. It has amazing physical bulk, decent enough special bulk. It's really, really useful against Claire and Lance, among other things like Jasmine Steelix, Price, a lot of the Elite Four. This thing, its stats and its moves and its typing. I know Water Ice doesn't sound like it would be good, but its stats back it up so well that it manages to be good anyway in these games. I really like Cloister. Corsola, trash. Has no offense to speak of. Really bad typing. Its typing is kind of the same as Cloister's, maybe even a little bit better. But where Corsola falls short is that it doesn't really have the defense that Cloister does, or the other stats. So it doesn't have the survivability. It doesn't do any damage, man. It doesn't do any damage. It's just sad because I like its design. I like what they did with Cursula in Gen 8, but just not cutting it in these games. Octillery is going to go into pretty good. A very wide move pool. Decent availability, decent bulk, pretty good special attack actually. Good amount of utility. Jasmine, Steelix, again, Price, Claire, Lance. It has some utility. It's just, again, if it hit a little bit harder or had a little bit more bulk, I would say it goes into excellent, or maybe it was even available earlier, but it's just a combo of things that leaves it pretty good. There are a lot of water types in this tier because a lot of them are just very solid, but Cloister and Gyarados kind of stand out, and for Alligator too, kind of just stand out a little bit more. Lantern is going to go into meh. Lantern has a really good typing, but it can't do any damage, man. It does not hit hard enough offensively. It has really good bulk. It has a really good typing. It's useful in a good amount of fights. You know, Lance, Price, Claire, Bruno, Jasmine, Steelix again. But I don't know, man. It just doesn't quite hit hard enough to be in that next tier. Kind of the same thing for Dugong. It's like a very, very diet uh, Cloister. It gets decent moves. It just doesn't hit hard enough. And its typing gets really taken advantage of. Whereas Cloister has the same type, it doesn't get taken advantage of as easily. Dugong with worse stats and moves across the board. Licky Licky is next. You can get Licky Licky. Also going to go into meh. Doesn't really have anywhere near the offense that some of the other better normal types have, like Ambipom, Grand Bull, Tauros, even Miltank. It gets a kind of a unique move set, I guess, but it's available kind of late, mediocre, kind of all around in a lot of ways. Tangola is actually pretty good, or should I say, Tangrowth. You can get Tangrowth in these games. It hits pretty hard. And it gets a good wide move pool. It has a lot of bulk. It's one of those grass types where, yes, it's a grass type, and yes, you get it a little bit later, but its stats are really good. It's not great in terms of availability, but it's maybe the best grass types in these games. The best grass type in these games. Again, gets really good moves. Hits pretty hard. Tangola is good. Tangola is solid. Vaporeon. Ooh. Does Vaporeon go into excellent? I'm gonna say. Okay, so Vaporeon is very bulky. It hits hard and it gets good moves. It gets good ice type coverage. It can get surf. Decent, good availability. Honestly, I think I'm going to put it in excellent. I think it's the best special attacking water type in the game. If you want a good special attacking water type, I think Vaporeon's your best bet. Above 100, I think 110 for special attack, really good bulk, high HP, good moves, Aurora Beam, Surf. Maybe the best evolution in these games too, just because it gets a good hard hitting stab that these two do not. So, okay. Jolteon gets Spark and is a special attacker. Spark is a physical attack. You see the issue? It's still an electric type, which is a really good type in these games, but again, just kind of gets outclassed by things like Ampharos and Magnemite or Magneton because it doesn't get a physical or a special electric attack. It's really fast. It hits hard enough. It has weird wide move pool, but if it had really good physical attack instead of special attack, it would probably be an excellent. But alas, Flareon kind of the same thing. Outclassed fire type. Doesn't get the right kind of moves. It's a physical attacker with some special fire type options. Doesn't get great coverage. There are just other better fire types that you can get earlier and hit harder. But it's still pretty good because it has really good base stats. Espeon is going to also go. So here's the thing with Espeon. No. So it's more bulky than Alakazam, but kind of hits for a little bit less damage with a similar move pool. You know what I'm actually going to do? I'm going to move. It's hard because it's really a lot better. It's definitely better than Jolteon and Flareon, but I just don't think it gets into the excellent tier, you know? Um, yeah, I'm gonna keep it in pretty good. Again, hits pretty hard. You know what? You know why it's in pretty good actually? Because it doesn't get psychic by level up until it's too late. But again, get it pretty early on with friendship. Good typing, hit does a lot of work in a lot of the fights, just not quite an excellent Pokemon. Same thing with Umbreon. It's one of the only dark types you can get in the main story. Great job, Game Freak. Really, really bulky, just doesn't really have the offense to get into excellent, but it can serve a good niche as maybe the only good dark type in the main story of these games. Next, Kingdra. Okay, Kingdra. Um, where do I want to put Kingdra? I'm gonna keep it in pretty good. I think you get it a little bit too late for it to be an excellent, but really good balanced stats. Dragon typing is really good. Useful in a lot of fights, but just you get it a little bit too late. Useful against Claire, useful against Price's Pilo Swine, useful against Lance. You know, good stats, just not quite available early enough. Gligar. Oh, Gligar. If this was Gliscor, it would be up a tier, but it just doesn't have the stats because it can't be a Gliscor. It has to be a Gligar. You get it really late. This is kind of the case with pretty much all the Pokemon that are left. You get it really late. It just doesn't have the stats to be kind of something I can recommend this late in the game. Um, it has decent defense, but it's just not that useful in many of the fights that are left when you get it. Delibird, trash. Only gets present by level up. Bad stats, bad typing, bad everything. Mammo Swine is going to go into pretty good. Does it go into excellent? So here's the thing with Mammo Swine. It hits more than half of the types in these games for super effective damage. It hits like a truck. You can get Mammo Swine. It's good against Claire. It's good against Land. I think for the reason that it's the best ice type for the late game, I'm going to put it in excellent. With the caveat being that it's probably the worst Pokemon in the tier. Again, this is Mammo Swine, not Pilo Swine. But Mammo Swine hits like a truck. It has a really good offensive typing. It gets good stab moves. It gets good coverage. You just can't get it early enough for me to recommend it. Should I put it in pretty good? You get it so late. You get it so late, but it's so good for the end of the game. No, I'll put it into pretty good. I wish I could put it into excellent. I love Mammo Swine, but no bueno. Ursa Ring, gonna go into pretty good. Hits pretty hard. Very good normal type. Just can't get it early enough for me to put it into excellent. Again, it's like a harder hitting Tauros that you just can't get until it's too late. But it is really good where you have it, you know. Donphan is gonna go into meh. It has really good stats, but it just doesn't get great ground type moves. It's available super duper late. It is a ground type, which putting it into meh is kind of a question mark, but again, you get it so late. And it just doesn't have the stab moves to take advantage of its typing and its stats. Um, yeah, I can't recommend Donphan. Mantine also goes into meh. It's bulky as hell on the special side. I'm actually gonna put it into pretty good. You get it earlier than the rest of the Pokemon, kinda at this point in the Pokedex. It has really good special bulk. It hits hard enough on the special side to make it work, but if you're gonna have a water flying type, just have a Gyarados, man. They give you a shiny Gyarados. They give you a shiny. Anyway, Mantine, um, pretty good. Has enough special bulk to keep it out of meh, in my opinion, but just not that much else going for it. But good enough. Skarmory. Also pretty good. Again, if you got this thing earlier, it would be a beast. You just get it so late. It's useful for a lot of the last few fights in the game because it is a steel type. It gets Steelwing, which is a good attack for it. You know, gets flying type moves. It just is available a little bit too late for it to be in the excellent tier. But if it were available, you know, kind of towards the mid game where it is in Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, definitely excellent for sure. Dodrio, I'm just piling in pretty good. Again, if you got this thing earlier, it would easily be the best normal flying type in the game. You know, what you can do is you can start with Fearow and then end with Dodrio. But that doesn't make Dodrio good enough on its own. You just get it a little bit too late. You don't get it as late as things like Skormory or Ursa Ring. And again, normal flying types are pretty good. It just, you can't use it against Chuck, I don't think. You can't use it against Bugsy, obviously. You can't use it against Morty. A lot of the fights where it would be at its best, it just doesn't get to participate in because it's available too late. But um, definitely the best normal flying type. It's just not available early enough. Rapidash. Stay away. You know, it has good physical attack and good speed, but it's available again at the end, the bare end of the game. You know, it gets decent moves, like it gets Flame Wheel. I don't think it gets Flare Blitz early enough to have it be useful. There's just so many better fire types. You know, I think it has too good of stats for it to be in the stay away tier, but definitely meh. Definitely meh at best. You get it too late, and it doesn't hit hard enough. Marowak. Oh, I wish you could get this thing earlier. I really do. Marowak is a monster because Thick Club. Unfortunately, you can only get it at the Safari Zone part of the game, but you put a Thick Club on this thing, it's a monster. It hits like a truck. A Thick Club doubles its physical attack. So it has easily the best physical attack in the game with the Thick Club. Do I put in an excellent? No, I can't put in an excellent. Golem is useful for way more fights. I just can't justify it, but very good. Just available a little bit too late. Kangaskhan is going to go into meh. Another Pokemon that is available really late. It has decent enough stats, but again, there is just no reason to use this thing over Tauros or Miltank, or maybe even really Ambipom, or you could maybe use it over Granbull, but I don't even think so, to be quite honest. Yeah, Kangaskhan, just kind of, you know, again, decent moves, decent amount of damage, just available too late. Rhydon is going to go into pretty good. It's Golem, but available much later. That's it. It gets similar moves. It has similar stats. It has the same typing. It's just available a little bit too late for it to be in the excellent tier. Golem, just available way earlier, you know? Murkrow is going to go into meh. Again, the only other dark type in Heart Gold Soul Silver in the main game besides Umbreon. Paper defense, not great attacking stats, not great availability. If this was Honchkrow, it would probably be in pretty good. It's not Honchkrow, it can't be Honchkrow. So yeah, decent, but not anything special, not anything that you probably want to use. There are better flying types out there. There's a better dark type that you get earlier, so I just don't love it. All right. Macario. I forgot about Macario. Met here as well. You don't get it as late as the other Pokemon. You get it in a very weird way. You have to like give the guy a letter or something. No, I'm not thinking of the right thing, but you can get a Slugma. Macargo's typing is terrible. It has good physical defense. It has decent special attack. It has a decent move pool. But if it were any worse in terms of its stats, it would be in Stay Away. But it's a fire type. You get it kind of early. So, meh. You know. not the worst thing in the world. Misdreavus, also in this category, available super, super late. You can't get Mismagius. Ghost typing is good, but it just doesn't hit hard enough. It has very mediocre stats without being Mismagius. Doesn't get great moves to take advantage of its type or its stats. Gets some utility moves. Just nothing special about this one. Lapras. So Lapras is almost an excellent tier. If Cloister weren't in the game, it would be an excellent tier. You get it right after you get Surf. It has great stab on both sides. It is very, very bulky. It's useful in a lot of the fights. But again, it just gets outclassed by Cloister. And that's why I can't put in an excellent tier. If it hit a little bit harder, or was available a little bit earlier, or just had a little bit more going for it, even if Cloister was still in the game, I would be able to bump it up. But it's just available a little bit too late. Doesn't hit quite hard enough. Same old story. Okay, so we're at really the end of this list almost. Raikou is gonna go into pretty good. So you get it actually kind of earlier than you would expect, and it has very, very good stats. The problem is that it actually doesn't obey you until a few gyms in, because you can only get it at level 40, and it doesn't get good special electric attacks until way too late in its moveset. Yeah, like, this thing can be good with some TM's help, maybe? Like, I don't know, but it's just not quite as good just because of the move pool. It is, in a vacuum, the best electric type because of its stats, but like, it just doesn't get the moves, man. Same thing with Entei. Just not quite the best fire type. You have to wait to use it. Doesn't get great physical fire type moves until a little bit later on. Hard to pin down and catch. Not available for long enough. Good bulk, good typing, not bad moves. Just you don't get the great moves early enough. I think with these two, if Raikou got like Discharge at level 30 or Entei got like Fire Fang at level 30, they would easily be an excellent. But they don't get those kind of moves until it's way too late. Dragonite. Another pretty good, just a really strong late game, extremely late game Pokemon, like after the 8th gym late game. You can't see, here's the problem. If you're going by level caps, Lance is cheating, and you can't do the same thing he did. He has level 50 Dragonites and level 47 Dragonites. You can't have that. You have to have it at level 55, and it's just kind of really hard to get it there. If you do get it there, it's a monster, obviously. It destroys the late game, but it's just kind of a philosophical issue with this pick because, like I said, hits hard, but not anything special. Well, no, it is something special, but you have to evolve it to make it that way. Okay, so for the last two, Ho-Oh and Lugia, they're legendary. They destroy the end game. I in my other in-game tier list have put the box legends in pretty good just because of how late you have to get them. Ho-Oh is a little bit more bulky and has a slightly better typing, where Lugia is more bulky, better typing. Ho-Oh more offensive. Yeah. Very, very useful for the Elite Four, but that's all you can use them for. So I don't feel good about putting them in the excellent tier. All right, so I will zoom out real quick, show you guys the full finished list. Sorry, that's a little far out, but what can you do? A lot of Pokemon in this little middle section here. A lot of the late game mons that are just available a little bit too late are in pretty good because they have the stats, they just don't have the availability. The top tier all are available pretty decently early. Hit really hard, have good defenses, are very well rounded. So yeah, like I said in the last part, if you have any disagreements, if you have any other comments, if you have any recommendations for other tier lists, be sure to leave them in the comment section. I really hope you enjoyed. Feel free to subscribe; doesn't hurt anybody. But with that,